Ladies and gentlemen, Liz Cheney is getting demolished by Harriet Hageman in Wyoming. The polls show that Cheney is losing 52% to 30%. So Harriet Hageman leads Cheney 52 to 30%. She has a 22-point lead, Hageman, over Cheney. And I'll just read you a Casper Star Tribune article. Former President Donald Trump's pick to unseat Representative Liz Cheney in the contest for Wyoming's lone House seat holds a commanding 22-point lead. With a month until the primary, actually it's just about, 10 days. So the 16th is when Cheney loses to Harriet Hageman. And so it's not just that poll. Most polls show that Hageman has a commanding, overwhelming lead. Cheney is a never-Trump Republican who, like all never-Trump Republicans, continually lose to Trump. Trump is now 188-14, according to NBC News. Now, in Michigan, you have a Republican, never-Trump Republican, who voted to impeach Trump, Peter Meijer, and the interesting thing is he lost to a very, very good candidate. And the reason he lost, ladies and gentlemen, one of the reasons was that, and this will come back to haunt Democrats as usual. The reason he lost to John Gibbs in Michigan, who's fantastic, one of the reasons, in addition to John Gibbs being fantastic, and that district not having a Democrat since the early 90s represent it, is that Democrats actually funded John Gibbs like $200,000 to $400,000 they gave to his campaign in the typical nonsensical, irrational ploy from Democrats before they yell and screech about the Kremlin installing the candidate. So they did the same thing with Trump. They elevated Trump. In 2016. The DNC email showed that they wanted Trump. Politico had an article talking about right before Clinton lost to Trump, and I said that she would lose in the Hill, the Huffington Post Salon. And so I was telling the world, when I was on the left, before I became a supporter of President Trump, I said, Clinton will lose to Trump. And the only hope they had at that point was Bernie Sanders. But they wanted to have their cake and eat it too. I said, you would lose. Then they actively elevated Trump within the DNC emails. Shows that several of the emails showed that part of their strategy was to pick a candidate they deemed unelectable. They were wrong. Then they blamed Facebook ads and interference and collusion for their strategy of propping up Donald Trump. Thank God he won. Thank God that we had record highs in household median income in 2019, a record low in poverty at 10%. We had a decades low in poverty and a decades high, actually a record high in household median income. Poverty hadn't been that low since it was recorded. It started being recorded in 1959. So Trump had a great economy, great foreign policy too, reversed Lincoln Project, Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, and also President Obama foreign policy. And Biden botched the Doha Agreement. Those 13 Americans, over 100 Afghans should be alive today. But ladies and gentlemen, people vote for Trump for reasons that Democrats don't understand. That's why they think that they're so ingenious by propping up candidates that people want. So they're not doing it in Wyoming, but they did it in Michigan. The mindset is nobody would want a Trump Republican because the 6 years of fabricated contempt and disdain for Trump is it's too overwhelming. It's too much for morally superior, highly educated, wonderful liberal Democrats to take. They can't understand why anyone would want the highest household median income ever on record, according to CNN, and record lows in poverty, and real wages up, as opposed to a recession now with real wages down 4.4% under mashed potato brains. And the recession is going to lead to a much greater stock market crash. The market is tanking, will tank a lot more than you're seeing right now. Hit subscribe, by the way, to this channel. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. I have a very important segment today, very important. And I'm growing that channel. We're almost at 20,000 subs on the Stock Market Crash channel. Become a member of this channel, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoy my work or my voice or my, viewpoints, my personality, tell your friends, tell your family if they would enjoy watching this YouTube channel. We're almost at 200,000 subs. If you want to support my work long term, my Patreon is below. Also, below is the super thanks to my super thanks. Thank you so very, very much. And I will have a live stream later tonight, probably around 10 p.m. Pacific. So be here for the live stream. Like I said, if you want to read my writing in The Hill, the Huffington Post, Salon, the Jerusalem Post, the Federalist, go to hagoodman.com. I'm updating that website, also my website. So, but here, Trump is 188-14. If Mashed Potato Brains Joe was active in endorsements, he wouldn't be 188-14. And by the way, who knows? The establishment candidate usually wins within the Democratic. There is no insurgent type of candidate within the Democratic Party. Here's the thing. Here's the reason why people vote Trump Republican. And here's the reason why there's only a handful of quote-unquote progressives, which AOC is not really a progressive. AOC talks about Medicare for all, but won't won't push a vote for it in the House of Representatives. Democrats will not vote on actual Green New Deal legislation because Biden is now pumping strategic petroleum reserves into the country, which is one of the reasons there's an artificial low in demand. But demand is not. There's something going on with demand for oil. Demand is much higher. Demand has outpaced supply. So we're going to see oil go way back up. Inflation will be past 9.1%. So you're voting for poverty if you vote Democrat in the midterms. Okay, that's why the people of Wyoming have Biden has a negative 52% approval rating. Okay, I think that's one of the lowest approval ratings in the entire country. And he's only above water in like a couple of states. I think in New York, he only has a positive plus 2% approval rating, according to Morning Consult. So you look, ladies and gentlemen, and the interesting thing is people don't understand, media, morally superior, highly educated Democrats don't understand why a person would vote for Donald Trump or John Gibbs or Harriet Hageman or Herschel Walker, who will win in Georgia. I think that he'll win in Georgia. I could be wrong, but I think that he'll win. I think there's a lot more support in Georgia. Blake Masters will win. Carrie Lake will win in Arizona. Here's why you vote Trump Republican. Great economy, a foreign policy that isn't militant hawkish and doesn't promote or advocate for never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. Okay? I'm going to say that again. For the morally superior, highly educated, brilliant, oftentimes apoplectic, almost always hysterical, but always highly educated liberal Democrats. Great economy. Trump, in 2019, we had household median incomes, personal incomes at all-time highs. We had real wages. I remember that was the one like negative. Real wages aren't going up as much as wages are. Like, well, now real wages are down 4.4%, but wages are up. And then they say, well, look at the job numbers. Yeah, the people are actually losing money in their paycheck. It took 2 years, by the way, to get to the job numbers, the unemployment rate that Trump had in 2019 and early 2020. So you vote for Trump Republicans because Mitt Romney and Nancy Pelosi are two sides of the same coin. By the way, I had the same mentality that I have for Trump as I did for Bernie Sanders. I had the same mentality for Bernie Sanders as I do now for Trump. The difference is that Trump will go after and oppose corrupt, lifelong politicians and bureaucrats within intel agencies, for example. Bernie would never do that. Trump opposes the Lincoln Project. Bernie Sanders votes alongside the Lincoln Project. This is a fact. This is not hyperbolic. This is not, he can say, oh, I oppose this, I oppose that. He will serve the interests of the Democratic Party. Talk is cheap. You got to walk the walk. And so, you know what talks. Money talks, you know what walks. But anyway, the point is, Trump walks the walk. His foreign policy is opposed by the Lincoln Project. Bernie Sanders, if he was president, which they will always cheat him also. That's another thing. Trump would never stand for being cheated. Bernie Sanders has no problem. Thank you. May I have another cheating? May I have another primary where I'm cheated? You have Trump with a great economy, which is exactly what I wanted years back with Bernie Sanders. We had, and if the knock on Trump is, oh, well, there was outsourcing, but household median incomes went up, and he had hundreds of thousands of new manufacturing jobs, and 200,000 lost under President Obama. So how did he lose? There's one liberal YouTuber said, oh, he turned his back on the working class. What? Look at the economic numbers. The opposite is true. He was the best friend of the working class. He was the best friend of everyday, hardworking Americans of all backgrounds. Every demographic. Poverty was at its lowest. Unemployment was at its lowest. Real wages were up. The economy was growing. We had household median incomes. That's the thing that people should focus on. Household median incomes were at record highs with a 10% poverty rate, lowest since 1959 on record. So, what do people not like about Trump? Because if you can't differentiate between Trump's personality, the media-driven, apoplectic, hysterical reaction to who he is or what his personality represents, and his actual accomplishments, which were numerous, with record-breaking economic numbers, literally record-breaking. You can go, I'm quoting CNN. You have a problem. You're voting for poverty if you vote Democrat. You're like voting for, it's not hyperbolic. You're voting for poverty if you vote Democrat. If you're voting Trump Republican, you're voting for a rebound sooner rather than later. It's going to take a long time, by the way, for this economy to rebound. When Democrats and morally superior bureaucrats and media, when they pushed to end economic activity, that was it for the U.S. economy. And that's it for us on the global stage, by the way. We cannot influence other countries and other regions of the world. We can't be the vanguard and at the forefront of protecting democracy abroad and around the globe with the economy we have now. Okay, that's why that's why the invasion took place in Europe while Biden was in office and not while Trump was in office, and that's why China is about to invade or blockade Taiwan. Major powers don't care what the U.S. thinks anymore, and that's because Democrats and media and bureaucrats and experts said we need to tank the U.S. economy. And then mashed potato brains said, oh, we're going to save the planet. And then he reversed course and now is being sued by environmental groups for flooding strategic petroleum reserves. So everything they did turned to the fertilizer that's now 400% more expensive than it was. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. Be here for the live stream at around 9:30, 10 p.m. Pacific tonight. Hageman is going to easily defeat Cheney. This will be yet another person who went up against Trump, who completely lost. Cheney will write a book. She might have already written a book. Maybe 10 copies will be sold. Maybe 5 Democrats will buy the copies, and that's it. She will be a consultant probably for the Democratic Party. There is no place anymore, really, even for like a Mitt Romney who's in office now, but never Trump Republicans are pro-intervention regime change, if they're told to shut down all economic activity, whatever media says, never Trump Republicans will do just like Democrats, who actually influence media or govern through media. So you're talking about one political party, never Trump Republicans and Democrats. It's not difficult. There used to be this dynamic that I thought existed on the left. It doesn't. The edgiest socialists vote with the Lincoln Project. Think about that. AOC and Bernie Sanders vote alongside the Never Trump Republican Lincoln Project that wanted a marriage amendment and that opposed marriage equality. This is a fact. This is not hyperbole. I'm trying to, if you happen to be on the left and you stumbled upon this channel, the entire left is controlled by the Democratic Party. It's not the other way around. The Republican Party is now being controlled by the populists within the conservative, within to the right of center. And the Trump Republicans are basically, in many ways, what liberals used to be, or I should say the left used to be. The left used to be anti-war. You have Trump Republicans who are far more anti-intervention, regime change, anti-military conflict than the left. And there's economic policy, jobs, manufacturing. So Trump Republicans have the economic record with Trump. Trump had record-breaking economic numbers. This is a fact that nobody can deny. You can actually just look up the numbers yourself. Biden has horrible economic numbers. And so you're like I said, you're voting for poverty if you vote Democrat this midterms. But anyway, hit subscribe to this channel. The people of Wyoming are smart, intelligent, wonderful people, and they know how to turn this country around. It's the rest of the country that's slowly slowly understanding that they have to do exactly what the people of Wyoming are doing. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe.